Okay. We're just waiting for the transcriber to join the call.
And can we turn up the volume a little bit?
Yeah. Because it was tough to hear my.
Chairman, shut the door.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the CSBG Advisory Council meeting. We're wondering if the transcriber has joined the call. Kelly.
Yeah, yes, I'm in here.
Okay, great. Thank you. So again, good morning, everyone, for joining our CSBG Advisory Council meeting. I'll go through roll call and then have a few reminders. If you're here, please say present. Mike Bobbitt,
Present.
Alan Jones,
Present.
Michael Martin,
He's running late.
Dan Maskin, Andrea Ogwami, Charles Quinn,
Present.
Maurice Reed, Laura Rossman,
Present.
Miguel Santos,
Present.
Yves Bias.
Present.
For the Albany office, they're doing a series of fire drills. I haven't gotten to that announcement, but we don't have to do anything. You'll just hear the drills. Dennis Wilson,
Present.
Tina Zerbian,
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. The signal
tones you have just heard indicate a report of emergency in this building. Please remain calm and
So, Michael Martin,
instruction. We are investigating the cause.
Maurice Reed, and Tina Zerbian.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. The signal tone.
Present.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
oh, thank you, Tina. Yep, got you, thank you.
Please remain calm and stand by near the speakers for further instruction. We are investigating the cause.
So, as everyone heard, Albany, we are having a series of fire drills this morning. There's nothing to be concerned about. We've already, Bass has already told us to continue with our meeting. So if we hear the drills, we'll just mute ourselves. A few reminders as we get started. Persons attending virtually on cameras, please turn your cameras and your microphones on as this is a public meeting. Also, this meeting is being recorded and transcribed. So when speaking, please speak clearly, identify yourself, and then the agency or area of interest that you're representing. Again, thank you for joining us this morning. Chairperson Bobbitt, we do not have a quorum. I'll continue to watch the attendance to see throughout the meeting if we achieve quorum, and I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Nikki. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for those in attendance, whether virtual and in person. It is frustrating that we haven't made quorum for this meeting. I will give credit to Nikki and Jackie for, since the last meeting, holding several separate meetings to which I was invited with certain members to remind them of the historic pattern of attendance and absence. So I want to give acknowledgement to the Department of State for taking this issue seriously, and I will recommit in my capacity as chair to continue to join you in those meetings in the interest of assuring that everyone's time that they've invested and continuing to invest will be well spent. Thank you, Nikki, for monitoring the meeting in the event that we should make quorum. In the event that we don't, I will again encourage all members to ensure for their part that we make quorum at the next meeting. We have a lot of business that will be reviewed, but since we won't be able to pass votes, that just means more work to be conducted at the next meeting. I do want to acknowledge Department of State and thank you for making the secretary available for those who attended the recent NISCA conference. So I appreciate the secretary's focus on CSBG and our network, and I hope that he will continue to engage this network in the future. Thank you again to Department of State for staff making themselves present at that meeting. We're aware that this is a very interesting time nationally, and so for this advisory board and Department of State to think and to plan carefully and look at ways to continue to promote and defend the valuable work that we're all doing through the use of CSBG funds remains very important. That concludes any remarks that I have at this time. I'll turn the meeting back over to Nikki and Jackie.
Thank you, Chairperson Bobbitt. We're putting our DOS PowerPoint up so that we can go over our updates.
So we're not going to be able to do the approval of the minutes from 9/12/2024 and 6/12/2025. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining our meeting today. My name is Jackie Orr and I'm the Director of the Division of Community Services here at the Department of State. As you can see, these are our agenda items. We'll be talking about CSBG funding updates, which we did a presentation at the conference last week. So many of you will already have received those updates, as well as we sent an email to the network. We also have the comments from the state plan, because the last time we met with you, we had not reviewed all the comments that we got from the plan. So we will do that. We'll also update you on our STAR, which is hopefully will be the new triennial review tool. We'll also provide updates on our contracting and the CSBG annual report changes. I'll be doing a brief presentation on using data as the Department of State and the Division of Community Services. And then we'll do a brief update also on Perora. And we'll end with the CSBG Advisory Council membership updates. So we have lots of things that are happening with the with new potential members, but it takes time. But I never fear, we are working very diligently here to fill the empty positions on the council, and we'll give you an update. Okay, so again, most of you are aware that we're in the middle of a federal government shutdown. And I'm going to say middle because we don't know when it's going to end. Right now, HHS Payment Management System, PMS, is still open, where folks are able to draw down their funds, all of you, as well as the Department of State. So we are able to draw down the federal fiscal year 2025 funding, because we got as you may remember, we got the final notice of grant award in May for all of our 2025 funds. The funds will occur for agencies that requested a no-cost time extension who have not met the 70% threshold and have not been paid full for the 2025 award. Right now, that only basically is 6 agencies. 3 have asked for no-cost extensions, and 3 others are truing up their 2025 books to see whether they've met the 70% threshold. Everyone else has been paid in full. We will also we're expecting and getting vouchers from the network for the discretionary funds. So once we get those vouchers, we will be able to make those payments out to you as well. And we also sent an email last week that lets you all know that you all can continue to use the 200% eligibility criteria for your services through the funding federal year 2025 with CSBG funds until we hear otherwise. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki, and she's going to do an update on the state plan comments.
Yeah, so good morning again, everyone. Nikki Battistoni with Department of State, Deputy Director. So the last time we met, we were in the middle of drafting and planning the state plan in the middle of the comment period and the hearing. So good news, our final plan that was uploaded in the system was approved by OCS on September 29th. The 2026-27 CSBG State Plan and Monitoring Guide, again, were approved, and the final documents can be found on our website. A huge thank you to NISCA for putting together a work group. This was a lengthy process. We started in February. Again, it was due at the beginning of September. And so with the accepted plan, just a huge acknowledgement to the NISCA work group, which included Dennis Wilson, Ann Black, Charlie Quinn, Nancy Turo, Mike Bobbitt, Liz Croft, Amy Turner, Leslie Krishman, and Corey Fetplace. Again, we've met on several occasions to go over areas of the state plan and monitoring guide. So during the comment period, we did receive some positive comments and strengths, and I'll go over those. And then we received some opportunities and recommendations. And then the final slide, I'll go over some of the DOS responses to acknowledge the comments that were made during that period. So some of the positive strengths are on the screen. So there were a few comments, and these are general summaries. So there was a summary to support the 25% advance and award the remaining funds when expenditures have met the milestones. Continue our partnership with NISCA, a commitment to promote linkages with state and local offices or efforts to address poverty. The inclusion of faith-based organizations, they can submit proposals through our discretionary funding or for our discretionary funding. Support the provision that DOS will implement and highlight allowable CSBG eligible entity income that's currently set at the 200%. allow CSBG funds to still administer creative programming to serve low-income communities, support for the decision to remove MWBE or Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise Initiatives from the CSBG contracts, support efforts in DOS to include eligible entities in the development of the plan, and encourages DOS to solicit meaningful feedback on a regular basis. Next slide. Continuing with positives and strengths, DOS staff have been supportive and offer guidance and have joined key events when we've been invited. Assigned program analysts have been providing thorough follow-up and tracking, allowing the community action agencies to focus on strategic improvements and results. The 2026-27 monitoring guide reflects a thoughtful evolution of processes. The implementation of a statewide document portal focuses on the reduction of redundant requests and proactive decision-making and proactive documentation tracking. Appreciation for DOS's ongoing efforts to make the monitoring process more thoughtful and supportive. The use of risk assessment and annual and triennial assessments scores and individual monitoring plans allows for a balanced and targeted approach, ensuring that oversight is responsive to the actual needs, and appreciates the internal efforts for DOS that DOS has made in using SharePoint to review advancing documents through the contracting process, encourages the state to continue exploring methods to further modernize such efforts. So those were all the strengths and positive comments. And now here are some opportunities and recommendations that we received. So encourage DOS to engage other state offices such as OTDA, OCFS, HCR, DOH, and other offices that are aligned with anti-poverty initiatives. There was another comment, elaborate on what additional language would be added to CSBG discretionary RFPs to encourage faith-based participation. And again, I'll cover that in the next slide. Recommends DOS explore standing regional stakeholder work groups composed of agency leaders and program staff, unable to make comments regarding the state triennial accountability and review or the STAR tool that is intended to replace the tracks because the STAR has not yet been made available. Too many priorities listed for the discretionary funding. These items should be prioritized to maximize impact. Recommends to review the CSBG state plan semi-annually with the CSBG advisory council meetings to ensure processes and goals are being met. And no recollection of a discussion where CAAs have to fill board vacancies within 90 days or to be issued a finding. Managing the tripartite board is a complicated and time-consuming process. So those were the recommendations and opportunities. Next slide. So DOS's responses and updates throughout the planning of the state plan and receiving these comments. So DOS is committed to developing partnerships and linkages with state offices and other stakeholders. Efforts to connect and schedule meetings with other state offices and potential stakeholders will be tracked and shared with the network. So I'm happy to report to date, we have met with OCFS and the Division of Licensing on a few different occasions to start a partnership with those two entities. Language in the state plan under 9.6 was elaborated on what additional language to encourage faith-based participation. So the language that was added is bolded in the presentation. The state will work to strengthen the relationship between faith-based community organizations and the statewide network through language specific to initiatives that will encourage participation in future requests for applications or RFAs. The next comment or the next response, DOS will work in partnership with NISCA to explore holding regional stakeholder meetings or planning forums, possibly engaging with economic development centers. reaffirm through messaging that the use of CSBG discretionary funding is left broad to be as flexible as possible to allow innovative ways to meet the needs of CAAs and local communities. DOS commits to the CSBG Advisory Council at a minimum of twice a year. DOS will share progress on the plan with the Advisory Council. Next slide. DOS acknowledges that managing a tripartite board structure is complicated, however, is required by the CSBG Act. DOS will provide technical assistance to the network on tripartite board compliance and guidance, review efforts to track non-compliance, and discuss the approval of extensions and flexibilities of the state office. And then we updated the language in 6.3A and 10.14 on the state plan and in the monitoring guide to reflect what our intentions are with the STAR. So in the state plan under, again, 6.3A and 10.14, you'll notice there's a paragraph that was added. It says DOS is in the development phase of a new triennial assessment. The STAR tool is intended to thoroughly reduce redundancies of monitoring and provide a comprehensive, balanced, and responsive approach to oversight. The transition to the STAR tool is planned for FY27 and intends to replace the TRACS tool once finalized and approved for use. DOS plans to release the STAR document prior to implementation for feedback and comment on evaluation from the network. The transition process is further referenced in the 2026-27 DOS monitoring guide on page 12. And then in the monitoring guide on page 12, the statement reflects the transition to the STAR tool is planned for FY27 and intends to replace the current TRACS tool once finalized and approved for use. DOS plans to release the STAR document prior to implementation for feedback and comments from the network. Next slide. So those were all of the comments and our responses to the comments that were received during the comment period for the state plan. Next is our slide for the state triennial assessment review or the STAR update. Internally, DCS and fiscal staff have been reviewing the drafted document. We're making updates and addressing any outstanding items. I just want to say a huge thank you to Nancy Foll, Jackie, and our fiscal staff, Paul Kinter and Mindy Van Alstyne, for really attending these meetings, doing working sessions, and we are making some headway. There will be state standards rather than state indicators, and the state standards are set up to comply with our New York State contracting compliance requirements. The intent is to avoid duplication and repetition found on the tracks, and to tie each state standard to some type of source, like where are we getting this rule or regulation from. There will be a need for internal review from our legal counsel and our executive team. DOS will follow up with the NISCA monitoring work group, who also has worked extensively on giving us some feedback about our monitoring framework. And the intent is that we will have a comment period and do a pilot with a few CAAs. And then we expect to have training for staff and CAAs over the summer of 2026. With that, I will hand it over to Amy Kohler to go over contracting updates.
Hi, good morning. My name is Amy Kohler. I'm the Associate Director of Contract Processing for Department of State. So for contracting updates, we are wrapping up the final review of the 2026 contracts. This year, we utilized our new process where it was kind of a partnership between the fiscal team and my team in the ARU. We're looking for feedback if anyone wants to provide it to us, if you're happy with the review or not happy. So, I mean, we kind of, when we started this, we sent out an email letting you know that based on your feedback, if we would continue or we'd go back to our very long process. So that anybody who wants to reach out and give us some comments, we'd really appreciate it. The 2025 discretionary contract vouchers are due by 11/14. It's really important to get those in because fiscal starts closing out 2025, beginning in December. So we really, really need those by the 14th. We have received some comments or some questions regarding your actual contract. If you didn't spend exactly what you budgeted for, say you had school supplies and you had food. If you spent more in food than school supplies, that's fine. We don't want you to do an amendment. Just please describe what you spent in the narrative when you send in your voucher. Everyone received the updated instructions on 8/20. If when you start to do your voucher, if you have any questions or concerns, please just email the ARU and someone will follow up with you to give you support. Contract training opportunities. We're looking for you to let us know what kind of training you would like moving forward. Every year before we release the contracts, we kind of just do an overview. Fiscal does the budget and the ARU staff, we kind of just go over the attachment C, the work plan. We're looking to see if you would like more detailed trainings. We could say do it on amendments or any variations. So please let us know. We sent you an email last month on some of the changes made to the 2025 CSBG annual report. Some of these, we just received notification in April of the changes, and the other ones we had already let you know about. So what was removed was the build and support increased equity awareness campaign. Those were removed last year in February. Percent decrease in unplanned pregnancies in the identified community, that was new. Cultural asset creation, that was a new removal. Gun safety and gun control campaign was new, and poverty simulations. We understand some of you may have some of these already built in your 2025 work plan, and that's fine. We did not know about these changes. You just won't see those when you get sent the 2025 Smart 4. And the other ones were attract capital investments, immigration support services. That one was already removed as of February. Module 3, the change there, police and community relations has been changed to community relations campaign. So if that's something you're working on, you can still report on that. And all characteristics, you can only report on male and female. This is the same as when you reported in 2024. If you capture other characteristics under this, you're not going to get an error. They removed that. And this year, in April, they removed for household composition, single parent, non-binary, transgender, or another gender has been removed. And that's all we know right now. I wouldn't be surprised when we get the smart forms if there's been other changes. So.
Will New York State still be tracking that information? Or does New York State not care?
Well, if they're submitting it, we're not getting it, right? You're asking if we want the information from all of you, if you are tracking it. We haven't discussed that. I guess we would need to know whether you are continuing to track it in your own agencies as well. Just because, as you know, just because it gets moved from the annual report certainly doesn't bar you from tracking whatever information you need for whatever grants or just for your own information based on your community. So we'll have it, we haven't discussed that internally, so we can let you know if we're going to be looking for other indicators from you so that we can track them as a state. You can go ahead.
I guess my question is a related one. So if individual agencies capture information beyond male and female, is there a guidance as to what to do with that data? How to manage that? Census, if you serve 10,000 people and, you've got actually a subtotal of people and there's only 2 categories under which to report them, is there a guidance as to what to do with those other numbers?
I mean, I would definitely keep them for your own use, because I know it's common, a lot of the intakes have unknown. And that's just, people choose not to answer or they forget to answer it. But I would think for your own records, you would want to keep that. It's just nothing we can track.
Or we have to decide whether we want you to send that to us, and it would have to be sent in a different way since we're not going to be collecting it with the CSBG annual report. But I agree with Amy, you know, any of those data points, I'm sure you're collecting data indicators and characteristics that you're not sending to us in the CSBG annual report. And that's nothing new. So obviously you would continue to do that. I think the question, Mike and Charlie, you're asking is whether we as a state want to see those, and then we can have that information for ourselves to share. So we'll let you know that, because it would be, if we ask you to share that with us, we would have to give you another methodology, another way for you to get that to us. That would not be part of the CSBG annual report. So good question. Well, we have not internally talked about that, but we can, and, you know, and get back to you. And also that might be a good question here. We're talking about data. All right. Any other questions about that?
Yes, Miguel Santos in the Buffalo office has a question.
Can we go back to the screen that was right before? So these removals are something, there might be, of course, there are a series of reasons why things are removed, but are any of these removals because of federal funding to New York State? Like, for example, immigration support services, relocation, food and clothing, and poverty simulation, and so forth?
They were all removed from the federal government. We did
Okay.
not choose to remove any of those. Those were
Okay.
instructions that came to us from the Office of Community Services.
All right, then, thank you. I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we should have been more clear about that. Thank you for that question. But yes, we probably would not have chosen to remove any of those as a state.
And, you know, that was kind of my point in asking the question. You wouldn't have chosen to do it, so do you still want the information?
Yeah.
Gun violence is up there. We run a New York State gun violence program. I would think New York State would want to know about that.
Yeah, because you're right, through the SNUG grant, and there's other agencies too. Yes. All right. So we'll contemplate that, and we'll talk in another venue about that and what, you know, collectively what we think about that. Okay. So this kind of goes and continues the conversation that we've just been happening. So we have at DCS, we've been part of a data collaborative facilitated through NASCASP and 5 other states. So NASCASP sent an email saying, are you interested in being part of a data collaborative? We said yes. And basically it was for the states who chose to be a part of the collaborative could pick any data project they wanted. It wasn't like we were all working on one. So our first project is focusing on our feedback to CAH regarding the state accountability measure. And there it is on the screen. The state submitted to each eligible entity written feedback regarding the entity's performance in meeting Roma goals as measured through the MPI data within 60 calendar days of submitting the state's annual report. So, you know, we do that now. All our program analysts reach out, and then we do a GSCR that you all get. When I got here, I realized that we don't always do it consistently among the program analysts here. So what we did is we said, okay, well, let's see what your feedback is about our feedback to you. So we conducted an external survey for all of you, for CAA staff and executive directors. So we presented this data last week at the NISCA conference, and we got 53 responses from 38 agencies, and from both executive directors and CSBG staff. So we were very happy with the responses that we got, in that you gave us really good feedback. We heard from a lot of you. And then we did an internal survey also for program analysts here, saying, you know, what more do you need? Do you need more clarity, more direction? more support. So we've been looking at that data from all of you and the internal data from program analysts, and we're now working on the next steps. So we will be taking your comments under consideration. So there were some good comments. What we will be doing, and we have a draft email ready to be sent. So for those folks who responded to the survey, we'll be sharing the survey results with everybody, and we'll also, I forgot to send it yesterday. I sent the Roma PowerPoint to Alexis at NISCA. I'll send the PowerPoint from the NISCA session so that everyone in the network can see the results of the survey. But it was really valuable for us to see, some of you were talking about trending data. It would be nice if we could give you, not that you don't have it, but it'd be nice if we would give you a perspective on, your data from last year, the year before. We also have access, which I've mentioned, and Amy and Nikki have talked about before, the performance management website. However, during the shutdown, it's no longer available to us, but that performance management website has statewide and individual community action data from 2017, I think it goes back. So the discussion we had with the network at the NISCA conference is, what data would you like to see from us? We pulled down some very simple data points, like how much money do we spend in each domain versus what is the percentage of outcomes in each domain. So we could even get even more granular than that. So my point in talking to all of you about this is we collectively want to use data better. We have lots of data at our fingertips. We want to be able to share it with all of you. We intend to be putting data points in our newsletter, because our newsletter goes to far more people than just the Community Action Network. So we can really share what it is that we are doing, what all of you are doing, and also internally with a couple of program analysts who are very into examining data. We're putting together ways that we can have a better understanding of, the number of agencies who spend CSBG dollars on this kind of service, the number of agencies who do this. So we're pulling that together now. So I'm very excited about that, and I expect to be able to, we're going to be looking at that very shortly, and again, sharing it back out with all of you. And I think it'll give us a better understanding of, as a network, of our data and how we are operating as community action agencies. So just wanted to share that with you. We will continue to share that information in this venue and in other opportunities as well. All right, are there any questions before we turn it over? Thank you, Tim. I know you were stranded outside.
I apologize for my lateness.
They
But
knew
yeah,
we were having a meeting, so they decided to call it fire.
Yeah, as soon as I showed up, I'm like, I'm here for,
Quick
we're gonna
question,
have
Jackie.
5 minutes.
Are you at liberty to share the other states that are in the data collaborative? If you said it, I missed it.
No, I didn't say, but I'm not going to remember. It's Kansas. There's 5 other states. It's Kansas, Arkansas, Virginia, Wyoming, and one more. Sorry. It's on my PowerPoint. It's on the other PowerPoint. You'll see. Thanks for the question, Mike. Okay, anything else before we turn it over to Tim? All right, thank you. If you think of something later, please chime in. And now you're on, Tim.
Well, good morning, everybody. And again, I apologize for being caught up in a fire drill that I wasn't anticipating, but I am happy to be here. Since our last meeting in June, NISC has been very busy. We mostly with attending conferences, and I submitted written comments that you guys can read, but basically we attended 3 of our staff people attended the National Community Action Partnership Conference in Detroit. That was an exciting opportunity for me especially, it was my first conference to meet my counterparts in person, attend state directors, state association directors meetings. We were able to also meet in person with our federal partners at OCF, who were working on our ARPIC grant, and it was extremely beneficial because they have been so supportive and helpful to us as we transition into yet another year. We were extended one more year extension of our ARPIC grant. That was right after that, I was in Chicago with the NAFTA conference, where I was able to meet with Jackie and Nikki, and again state partners, state association directors, and also their counterparts at the state level. And get to it was an important time because we were looking down the prospect of a federal shutdown. And so we were able to meet together as a group and talk about how we as states can work with our state partners in handling and addressing what, should a shutdown come down, which is where we are now. And we had our national partners there. Denise Harlow was there. And that was an important, exchange. And I think we needed that support for each other when we were together. I don't know why I'm so nervous. Fire Joe shook me up. I'm sorry. Anyway, and last week we had our NISCA Niswata annual conference in Syracuse. I feel that was a very successful conference. The highlight, I think, one of the highlights was having the Secretary of State, Secretary Walter Mosley, introduce himself to the audience, to the conference, give what I thought were really meaningful and important remarks at a time when we really needed to have that kind of reassurance that not only did he understand and value what we do and what the community action agencies do every day, but he really expressed sincere support for helping us achieve the work that we do throughout the state. It was also nice to have Jackie there to introduce the DOS team, who was also attending the conference throughout the week. Anyway, that was my first conference. So I learned a lot, do's and don'ts. I have a list, and I'm excited about already getting started with planning for the next year's conference. And stay tuned for dates and location. Hopefully we'll have an announcement on that very shortly. Now, let's see. And in a few weeks, we will be holding our executive directors seminar. We're doing that in Lake George. That's an opportunity for our executive directors and leadership to get together in less formal manner and strategize to talk about, what are the priorities facing the community action agencies in New York? What do we want to see? What are we looking at in 2026 and beyond? So we're putting that together, and hopefully we'll have a nice turnout, and the weather won't be too cold up in Lake George in the beginning part of November, but we'll do it. And then finally, with our CSBG grant, we are working with ProNexus, our accounting firm, to get all of our vouchers together and submitted. I hope to be pretty much caught up by the end of the month at the latest, with all the vouchers are outstanding at this point. So I stay tuned for that. And I know you've already been responsive and helpful in helping us put together that what we need for the future. So that's kind of a focus now, a very important priority that we will be working on now. And lastly, we've had some staff changes. We hired a new executive assistant, Shayna Billion. I'm not sure if anyone was at the conference, you would have had an opportunity to meet her. She She's been extremely helpful, and I know she's going to be an asset to NISCA. And Heidi, her last day was Tuesday. She took a position as executive director of a local nonprofit. We were going to miss her, her intellect and her value to NISCA, but we are already in the process of finding someone to come in and take on some of her that Heidi's. That's it in a nutshell. I'm sorry, I'm so rattled, but next time I'll show up early.
Yes, well, the fire drill was not in spring. Well, I guess we did find out yesterday. We probably should have forewarned you. That was great. Thank you, Tim. Anybody have any questions?
Would it be
Okay,
helpful to circulate the job description for Heidi's replacement?
Yeah,
It's already underway.
Yeah, we actually, the position we were hiring for was Charlie's position. And I believe we put that on our NISCA website, but I can certainly circulate that and Heidi as well. That's a good idea, Mike. Thanks.
You want to put the PowerPoint back up? We just have a couple more slides. Okay, Prora, we don't have, I was gonna say we don't really, but we don't have an update from, this is an email with the language that was sent to all of you right after the decision was made. So that was in Rhode Island. A district court judge granted a preliminary injunction that pauses implementation of HHS's notice requiring verification of immigration status to determine eligibility for the community service programs and other programs. It wasn't just CSBG. Furthermore, HHS is prohibited from implementing or enforcing immigration verification requirements for the time being until further order by the court. So it's just going through the litigation process. I suspect it's going to be some time before we get an update on Aurora. Happy for the pause. That was an aside. All right. What you're all thinking about. All right, so CSBG Advisory Council membership. So we know that we haven't been able to make quorum, obviously last two meetings, even before that. It has been a concern, and like I said, we are diligently working on it here. It is just time, and if I had control, it would not take this long, but I don't. So we've had David Hahn Baker has officially resigned, as well as Dan Maskin. Resignation is going to be effective 12/30/2025, but unfortunately Dan wasn't able to make the meeting today. So we do have progress, as I mentioned. It is just taking time. So Greg Richards is going through the assembly appointment process, and he is the executive director of Cortland, as well as Brenda Soto Colon at Pathstone. So the thing that's been held up with those two is they both received a letter from their assembly person pretty promptly. However, in order to be an assembly appointee, you need to get a letter directly from the assembly speaker. And that has been just a process that's taken an inordinate amount of time. But we are still working on it. We're doing updates. We're connecting with each other to see if there's anything that we could do that would move the process along. The gubernatorial appointees is Maureen Abbott. She's a retired CA executive director from Tioga Opportunities, and Jean Sexton is a retired banking official and a community action agency board member. This process, as many of you may know, if you've ever been appointed to an advisory council, this is a long process, and there is nothing we can do about it. Those names have been sent to the powers that be. So essentially, they come from me for those who are interested, and I get their names and the information we need. They go to executive here at the Department of State, and then their names and information get sent to the appointments process at the governor's office. They then receive the required appointment paperwork they have to do, and then they do it, they send it back, and then we wait for official notice. I was appointed to the ECAC and it took 18 months. Now that was during COVID, so that might be a little bit of an extreme. But we're doing what we can do. There are also 2 other people I've spoken to, and I am waiting for them to send me information that would allow me to go through the gubernatorial appointment process. And you know who you are if you're in this meeting probably. So that's where we are now. If you have further names, please, share them with me and Nikki so that we can, get people in the pipeline. But like I said, once we have people's names and are working on it, we just have to let the process play out. But we are following up, and we've not let this go aside. So it may feel like that. Yeah.
Good, great update. I know it takes a long time, but I have a question, like some of the people that just don't show. That's the other side of the coin. What's being done about it? You got one person here out of 10 meetings, only been here, has been absent. So, how long do we have to hold these people as a member?
And I could turn it over. I can see Mike wants to say something, but I'll just let you talk, Mike.
I didn't want to interrupt you, and I would defer to you, but since you called on me, I'll speak about it. I mentioned in my earlier remarks that Jackie and Nikki, I don't want to name names, but that we've been calling members to review their pattern of attendance and ask folks to recommit. And so, Dennis, I'll actually credit you. This is an issue that surfaced several times in your capacity as chair. You spoke to ensure that the advisory board spoke about this. I think we need to make quorum. I think we need to propose a bylaw change, but we would need to make quorum to propose a bylaw change as to what further power the Department of State would have to unseat people if they don't have a pattern of attendance. But one of the things that we have talked about is whether they're seated by Assembly or Senate or Governor's office. If people don't attend meetings, perhaps we should be letting the elected official know. And so I would invite continued discussion. I don't remember exactly where we left off on that, but I think at least some folks agree that that was a good idea. So, perhaps we should just discuss further. If you're seated by an elected official, shouldn't the Department of State let that elected official know whether you are or you aren't coming?
Thanks, Mike. And we have, as Mike said, reached out to those folks for recommitment, hence David Honbaker choosing that he was going to resign because he realized that he just hasn't had enough time, and there's been other things, and he's been on for a long time and certainly dedicated a lot of time and thought and, had a lot of contributions to the advisory council, but figured he could no longer do it.
Okay, so I have one more question. I want
Yeah.
to point out, looking at the bylaws. And we were told at one time by the attorney, I forget his name, he used to be here as well, that the council, for the purpose of a vote, all of the names that are supposed to be here constitute the number that you would derive a quorum from. But in the bylaws, it says, under resolutions may be adopted by a simple majority of those members present and voting. So why aren't we following the bylaw instead of whatever he said? Because if we have 5 people here today, if 3 people vote in favor of something, it'll pass. Where did that, I don't.
Because the quorum says we have to have a simple majority.
Of those, it says a simple majority of the members present, right here, and voting. It's still the majority of the total.
But under quorum, it says the simple majority of the council membership shall constitute a quorum at a meeting, and the membership is the 20 people. Right, which has
Can we
been,
amend that?
that's, I think, what Mike was
Mike, that's-
referring to. If we could get a quorum.
It's not a federal regulation, is it, or something? Or
My understanding, I mean, and maybe those who've been here longer could attest to it, but my understanding is that we, as a body, created the bylaws.
We created the bylaws, yes. I'm pretty sure, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure New York State law
Is it?
created, New York State law created the council, and New York State
Yep.
law is what says 20 is the,
So does that mean we
Number.
can't amend the bylaws at all?
we can amend the bylaws, but by law, it's 20 people. Is it 20?
Only on the roster makes.
20 on the roster, and 20 is what you use for quorum, whether people are seated or
I'm
not.
just trying to find a way to make it work.
Yeah,
This is frustrating.
It is.
Is this, the 20, is that something we can change? Do we know that? This is Alan Jones, by the way. Do we know if we can change the total number?
not as best as I recall,
Yeah.
not through the bylaws. It would have to be through legislation.
Annie, do you know that? You know, you want to.
I don't, no, I can share. I don't think that we can. I mean, this is all correct in terms of the number of members. We're not going by, right, who's present for purposes of meetings, the total. And I know that this has been an ongoing, and not just for this, is the statewide issue that I know that other, attorneys, even not just in our agency, have brought this up. Can we change the open meetings law? I mean, what do we need to do to change it? And it seems like there just hasn't been, unfortunately, the appetite.
Do you mean
for
that in
legislation.
general or specific?
Right, just for, right, not just for us.
So maybe one more.
But we'll,
Just before, I just want, Annie, could you introduce yourself?
I'm Lana Eustasio, I'm the counsel to the division. You probably have worked with Rob in the past, so I've been here a while, but new to this division.
Couldn't, instead of, like, say the person has only been to 3 out of 10, and they want to come to the meetings, couldn't we get them, it says in bylaws that those people can give a letter appointing somebody else to represent them. So then we don't have to go through the assembly or the Senate or the governor's office. Couldn't we get them to just say, keep your seat and give us a letter? I can't call them, but I mean, I don't know if we can call them, but Mike, what do you think of that?
You mean like a delegate or an alternate?
Yeah, it says in the bylaws they can delegate somebody,
Yeah.
and then we
I
don't
mean,
have to go through all this process.
There's precedent for that. That's how I got seated as a delegate or an alternate for former Commissioner Bill Chong. So yes, we can use it.
Okay.
I would ask Jackie and team to come up what are the parameters under which you would use it, but there's precedent for it for sure.
Yeah, I think if you ask them, this is your easy way out of this, if you just keep the seat, just appoint somebody that's willing to attend. Just a thought, trying to make it work. That's it.
Okay. And Tim, I know you had your hand raised.
I was wondering, like, who was the last person appointed by the current speaker? Do we know offhand? And because it might be interesting to see how that process went, who they talked to. I mean, I know I've mentioned it to a couple of folks in his staff, but
I wasn't the last person, but I was appointed by him. It took close to a year.
Same process where you had your assembly person kind of write a letter and.
Miguel Santos in Buffalo has a comment.
I am in full support of 2 of the comments that were already made. One is whoever appointed us or submitted our names so that that elected official should be notified that their appointed representative has not been attending. Super, because they just don't know, so that they can replace whoever is not attending. And secondly, yes, someone, a submittal of someone that can represent the member. We've done that in the past For example, out here in the West, Pathstone had one individual, but his or her representative would attend our meetings regularly, which contributed to the quorum.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you, Miguel. Yes.
Yo,
Yeah, we will further pursue that. Okay. Is there anything else?
Just to reflect in the minutes, Michael Martin is on the call, so that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 advisory council members. We still have not met quorum for the record. I think the last thing that we had was to go over, unless there's anything else the council wants to talk about, was the proposed dates for the next
Yeah, so
meeting.
Can we bring up the
Yeah.
slide?
I do have,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, I'm perseverating on this data collection and who's making decisions. Since there's already a movement for data sharing amongst the states, if New York State feels that some of those things that have been removed from the annual report are still worth collecting, maybe the states should get together. And I know I'm possibly proposing double work for a lot of people, but if the states collectively think it's a good idea to continue collecting that information, so that we're better able to serve the people that we serve throughout the nation, maybe that's something that we can do independent of the federal government. And this is not directed at the current administration, because I'm sure other administrations may have added or deleted things that fit their agenda. But if we're really about providing better services rather than serving political agendas, maybe the collective states might want to consider doing its own data collection.
this is Miguel Santos. I'm in total agreement with that, because by keeping track of some of these items, some of these agencies may be able to apply for other grants that are not from us.
Yep. Okay, we can actually talk to NASCAS staff about that too and see if they've gotten any comments, excuse me, from other states. But when I was at the NASCAS conference, I was invited, which hasn't happened yet, but apparently the bigger quote unquote states, the ones that get more funding, not bigger geographically necessarily, but like California and Pennsylvania and New York and Ohio, Texas, they all apparently meet, and they've invited me to attend their meetings. And like I said, it hasn't happened yet, but Illinois actually was the gentleman who reached out to me. So that would be a good question for me to talk to them about initially too, and see what they're doing. And then we can approach NASCAS and see if other smaller quote unquote states have had any discussion about that too. So, okay. Thank you. Okay, so the last thing is our meeting schedule, and I know Mike had mentioned before when we last met is, and we agreed to have a four meetings rather than 2, which I'm really appreciative of, because I think rather than just doing updates, it gives us a chance to have more of a conversation, because we can remember what happened at the last meeting and carry those initiatives and action steps along. So the next meeting, as you can see on your calendar, we have February 5th, April 23rd, July 23rd, and October 8th, and they're all at 10 a.m. I am going to be internally optimistic and hope that we have new members by our meeting in February. That will be over a year since I've been here, so it'll be over a year since we've been working on it. So hopefully that will at least a couple, and then we will circle back to some of the existing members too, for continued conversations with them.
Those outcomes of getting new members could be part of your performance evaluation. You never know. If you
At this
solve it,
point,
you'll
I'll be
look really
fired.
good. No, if you solve it, you'll look really good.
Oh, let's not put my performance evaluation on that. Okay, all right, thank you. Are there any parting, I don't know, Mike, if you have something that you would like to close with?
I think we've had very healthy discussion about ways to meet quorum, so I'm looking forward to our supporting Department of State by our continued attendance and Department of State to push where you can. So if anyone has creative ideas about other folks who will be stalwart and consistent and useful, who could get seated, please, bring the names and suggestions to Jackie. I'm interested in, with this increased meeting cadence, if there are other state agencies with whom you're trying to forge relationships. You mentioned licensing is one. I forget who the other one.
OCFS.
OCFS. If you ever want to have them come and present at one of these meetings, I'm sure the advisory board members would be interested to hear about that. And thank everyone again who's made a point of attending this meeting.
This is Miguel Santos. Before we close, I would like to continue a conversation that I brought up at a previous meeting of a concern where people who are incarcerated, who once they are released from incarceration, but because of the crime, they cannot be placed in certain environments. I had another gentleman, I don't remember if he's from your staff or another volunteer. We tried to contact each other, but we never succeeded in doing that. I would like to explore these residents from New York State that remain incarcerated because there is no program in certain communities that they can go to. And so they stay lingering in the prison system, which is also an additional cost to our state. So I'd like for us just to explore what are some of the options that we could look at, so that these individuals, they did the crime, they served their time, and what options for housing we can really at least look at, so that they do not just remain incarcerated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Miguel. We'll take note of that and we'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Any other comments, questions? All right, okay, so I guess that concludes our meeting for today, and we'll see you all again in February. Let's hope for good weather. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good meeting.